Welcome to Broadscast. That's our little tribute to Mary Tyler Moore, who passed away recently. She was one cool, amazing, funny broad. Don't you think, Kim?
Yeah. You know what? I'm not usually one to really, I know this is terrible, but when celebrities die, I'm not always oh, but there was a moment I'm like, oh,
right?
I remember her.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. And she was funny, and she was
the way.
Yeah, she really did. And I think even just the character she played too, that I think that people connected with them and felt like, hey, she could do it. So maybe I can too. So, but from one remarkable broad, I know, yeah, Mr. Grant, from one remarkable broad to another. On today's show, we have former Miss Georgia. She's an entrepreneur. She's a reality star. She's a kick-ass broad. Kim Gravel is joining us.
Oh my God, she's the queen of QVC.
She's awesome. So stick around.
Yeah.
We're going to have it coming right up.
Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
So, Kim Goldman, where are you? You're off on the other side of the world doing something for those of you who don't know, Kim is a correspondent for Crime Watch Daily. So you are on the East Coast, right?
I am. For the last 2 days, I actually thought that I was in Philadelphia, but I have since learned that I'm actually in Pittsburgh. So, either way, I am in the state of Pennsylvania.
Well, so. There you go. There you go. So I am here from the Broadscast studio. So I don't think people in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh would like that confusion. There's a lot of pride out there.
I learned that.
You did?
I did. I learned that. I was talking to a friend and I said, "Oh, I'm here in Pennsylvania," and I was so rooting for the Steelers. He's like, "Awesome, but I'm a Eagles fan." I'm like, "Oh, wait, where the heck am I?" He's like, I had no idea.
You're like, I don't know.
I'm a lot of things, but geography genius is not one of them.
Well, when you land at an airport and somebody else is paying the way, you just kind of allow yourself to get shuffled off, I'm sure.
I did. I just got off the plane. I got in the shuttle. I got in a cab, and I ended up in a Hilton Garden Inn in a city called Cecil. So none of those things really determined my whereabouts.
But you ever been at a concert when the band or the singer isn't even really sure which city they're in, because they've been doing that for so many days in a row. So yeah. So today's Broadscast, Kim, is brought to you by Audible.com. Hey, do you know anyone who has books on Audible? Do you know anyone who's got books over there?
I might have one. I think I have one. And we have so many of our guests have books on Audible. I know. Who cares about me? Yeah.
But what I love about audiobooks, we talk about this all the time, that you can go with the whole self-help, you can go with the mystery, you can go with the biographies. I almost said biology. You could do biology if you want. But you can also I love a good chick lit book,
a chick lit? Did you say chick lit or chick
lit? Yeah, it's two separate words. Chick lit, like chick literature.
Oh, chick lit.
Beachy reads, things like that. But if you head over to audibletrial.com/broadcast, you can actually get a free month and a free audio download. So check it out, audibletrial.com/broadcast. So we will be right back with the fabulous Kim Gravel.
Connect with the Broads on Facebook at facebook.com/broadscast.
Okay, welcome back to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. I'm very excited about today, although Kim teases me, I'm always excited. Our guest today was, as a child, considered herself the ugly duckling, and yet she went on to win, was one of the youngest winners of Miss Georgia, and has gone and taken on the world through QVC and Lifetime, and she's a singer, and she does it all. Kim Gravel, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Glad you guys had me. I appreciate it. I'm a fan, by the way.
You are?
Oh. Well, yes.
You just got nominated to the president of the club.
Oh, I love it.
Well, thank you. So I think you and I had talked offline about when I first got my first taste of Kim Gravel when I was working on Fab Life, and you came on, and I was like, that woman, wow, you've got it. If there's whatever that it is, you possess it. You are it. And
oh my gosh, well, you've got great taste. I'm now, yeah.
So
we are really going to be close now. I can feel it.
Best friends. So take us back to where it all began in your childhood. And like, I've seen pictures. You were no ugly duckling. Tell us how you went from there to Miss Georgia.
No, well, this is the thing. Don't we all go through a phase when we're younger? As girls, whether we think we're not pretty or we think we're not fill in the blank or enough or whatever. And I definitely went through that phase. And it's kind of good when you go through that phase, because when you are the ugly duckling, or at least you think you are, let's say that, because there's no ugly people. We just think we are. It makes you develop in other areas, which was really nice, because I never depended on my looks or anything like that to get me to my goals. So when I was a young girl, I was just a hustler, baby. I just had it in me to hustle and to do something more. I always knew there was something more. I'm Southern. I'm in the Bible Belt. I live in the South. We eat a lot. We go to church. I just knew there was something more than that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There had to be something more for me. Not that that's bad. I'm just saying I knew there was more. And so I was always adventurous, and I would be getting into whatever I could get into. I remember the first time I knew I wanted more. I dragged my boombox to a WWW wrestling tournament here.
Oh my
True
gosh.
Story.
That's a whole lot of story right there. Just even in the
I could go for hours. I won't bore you with all that. But I had on gauchos and Argyle socks and penny loafers. And I drug my boombox into the middle of the ring, and I sang for, hundreds of people in this little auditorium in Gwinnett County. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. I love performing. And so you go through things and you go through your life and you think, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And all along, it was this message that was driving me. It was more than just entertainment. It was more than just singing or being funny or being pretty. It was always that message of purpose for me. And so, the last 10 years, I realized, okay, hey, I can do a lot of different things as long as it's the same message. So that's what inspired me as a young girl. I would just sit and think about my purpose and then everybody else's purpose. And so it just became, a passion for me and a life call, so to speak.
And I love, and I don't know if this is how the pageant world works, but you went on to then become the Goodwill ambassador to Japan, right?
Yes. I was never a pageant girl. I was always a rebel. I was always the rebel pageant girl. When I went to Miss America, Donald Trump was there that year. So I've got a great Donald Trump story. That might be for another broadcast. That might be for another time.
We always try to work.
There's always room for a Donald Trump story, Kim.
Yeah, I have my own Donald Trump story, at Miss America. So I was always a rebel. He asked me to come to his room. We were all, me, Miss Tennessee, a couple of us. And I didn't know he was. I was 19 years old. I was like the youngest girl there. I didn't know anything. I was getting a Coke at the fountain, in the auditorium. And I said, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to your hotel room. I don't know who you are. I was just a rebel. Everybody else went. I did not. Of course, I didn't make top 10, and there it goes. I never got anywhere with that. But I'm just saying that I was always a rebel in the pageant world. And the reason I did pageants was because I was in love with pageants. It's just because you got a lot of money to go to school, and I got a lot of exposure for my message. So and that's why I did it.
But go back to your message. Like, how do you, as a young girl? I mean, for me, and as a teenager, the last thing I was thinking of was what my message was. So
I know.
How is it? I mean, is that self-motivation, or is there someone or some people in your life that kind of were able to kind of help you get there?
Yes. I had really, I say message now, hindsight's 20/20, but back then it was really women's empowerment and women's equality and women's improvement. It wasn't a feminist message. It was just that I just knew that women made the world go round. I come from a long, strong line of women. My grandmother, her mother, my mother, my sister. So, I mean, I was just always surrounded, and I just always thought, God, if my mom was not who she was, my dad would be lost as an Easter egg. I mean, I just knew, like, if my grandmother wasn't the woman she was, my granddaddy would not be anything. He would be nothing. And so I always knew that women had such power and influence. And I grew up in the church. That's my background. That's my culture. That's how I grew up. And I was always too loud, too obnoxious, too opinionated as a woman. And I just thought it wasn't fair. So for me, it started out as this message of women's empowerment. And it turned into be this message of purpose, in particularly for women. So I tried out for the football team to make a point. I was that girl in school.
Wow.
I was that girl. And I don't know why. I can't tell you why that's the case. And I'm so glad that young girls now are getting involved and understanding that, their lives are limitless. And it has nothing to do with their gender. It all has to do with their perception and how they feel about their purpose. So I don't know why I had that very young. I think it was because I had a lot of mentors. I would sit with, when I was 7 or 8 years old, I would sit with my neighbor who was Norman Rockwell's granddaughter. And I would sit and watch her paint and hear her talk, and it was just that mentorship, I think, that, was a seed planted in me a long time ago. That's why I try to do that for young girls today, because you never know. One little thing can change the trajectory of your life. One statement, one word of encouragement,
right. One experience, yeah.
Yeah, that's why TV is so important, and that's why, messages are so important, and that's why, all that is important, because one little thing into a young person's life, it could change their whole world.
So do you feel, I think I read somewhere that you have 2 sons. So does your message that you give to at the women's conferences that you host, or is the message different from the girls to the boys, or is it consistent?
Yes, because boys are quite simple, aren't they? I mean, I think men would actually say that. I'm on Steve Harvey all the time, and we talk about this at length about how, because his message is he mentors a lot of young boys. And men are just quite simple. You feed them, build their ego, and have sex with them, and they're good for days. Women are much more complicated, and we carry a lot more on our shoulders. But to answer your question, Kim, yes, it's quite different because girls are so complicated, and girls are so influenced by they have so much more coming at them. You got to be this. You got to look this way. You got to talk this way. You got to be smart. You can't be beautiful. Can't be too sexy, but you got to be sexy enough. You can't be too thin, but you can't be too big. I mean, it's just these messages coming at girls that it's just lies. Boys don't get, and I know that because I have 2 boys, and all they do is just pee on the toilet seat and the walls, and you feed them, and you just let them go outside and play basketball, and they're good. Where girls have to be nurtured and encouraged, and emotions have to grow. They have to tell them. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but I guess I struggle with that just slightly. I mean, I also have a son. Jackie's got 2 boys, and I work with teenagers from my other job. And one of the things that we've learned over the years is that boys feel like they're overlooked. And that they struggle with. I mean, and it's interesting now because now that I have a boy, I watch like the ads, like the David Beckham, the Calvin Klein ads, where my son is even now wanting to like make sure he has a 6-pack, and he wants to make sure he's got those muscles that that are. I'm not saying this about my son, but like very sexy on men when they've got those cool pelvic. Like my son is very influenced by that. He spends more time in the bathroom on his hair than I do. And because he is very much influenced.
Kim, in his defense, like I've been meaning to talk to you about that. No, I'm just kidding.
But I think that, I think in some ways we tend to downplay the importance that boys need to have that nurturing. Yes, they're different beasts and they hear things differently than women. And I don't want to discount that, but a lot of the boys that we work with feel like they have similar pressures, and that they feel like no one really understands them because everyone's so focused on body image with women or girls that boys, we had one group that we had a support group. We had 6 or 7 boys in the group, and they all identified body image as being one of their biggest obstacles because they were all struggling with what they should look like. And I'm always interested in that, and I've made a conscious effort to try to pay attention to that, and it's confusing, but anyway.
No, I completely agree with you 100%, Kim. I completely agree with you. And I think it is, they do have a lot of, boys have a lot of pressures too, not to downplay that for sure. Just for me, I just think it's so great when someone outside of the parenting circle, whether, my husband, like, I just love it when a coach tells my son, validates him in that way. What I do for young girls is just, I'm out of that parent circle for a lot of people,
That's
like my neighbor
point.
girls and things. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I can say something to it. You just never listen to your parents until you're about 25 anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, it's so important for me to, and I love that. And you're so right, Kim. That's why I get excited when, my son comes home and says, oh, my coach said such and so and such and so, because I saw that it validated him. I've said it 50 million times. He's never listened to me. And sometimes he doesn't even listen to his father. But it's just that you're so right. The boys need it too. These kids are facing so much, y'all. I mean, so much more than we ever dreamed of facing. And so much younger than we had to face it. And I'm not a doomsday message, because our youth is in good shape. I mean, boy, they got so involved politically this year in this election, and they're smarter than and stronger than we give them credit for. They just need us to be strong too.
But that's such a good point, because, we're at home and we're trying to do everything we can for our kids and build them up, but yet don't build them up so much that they fall when they realize that they're not these perfect, amazing beings that we, share in their faces.
Everybody don't get a trophy. Everybody don't get a trophy.
Exactly. But also like you can do anything, or you're this and you're this. And then eventually, like, I've been kind of noticing how that, flops a little bit. But I think it is so amazing that both of you have very similar stories in that you are reaching the youth in outside of their home to build that confidence. Because the very first and foremost, you need a safe place. You need home to be where you can be yourself, where you are loved unconditionally, accepted, all of that. But as they hit adolescence, and I am no expert by any means, they start to seek outside the home. And so to have mentors or counselors or guidance from each of you Kims, I think is really important, because at some point as a parent, we are not enough, and we can't be enough to support them for the rest of their lives. They're going to need other people in their life to kind of fall back on as well. So,
well, and see, even what Kim has been through, I mean, just her story alone, and just, I mean, of course it's amazing, Kim, I know all about y'all, but I mean, it's the more we share our stories, and the more that we communicate, and the more that we get vulnerable and get real with these young people. Listen, they can smell BS a mile away.
Yeah.
Kids can smell BS bigger than anybody. I mean, it's the truth. It really is true. And, and I also tell women this too. Like, my passion is to see women, because I believe women make the world go round. I just do. And people say, well, it takes all. I said, yeah, it does take all, but I just know what I do at home. And I just know what, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. And that's just the truth. That's just how it is. I mean, that's my experience. That's a lot of my friends' experience. And so I always tell women too, you got to love you. You got to love you, so there's an overflow. You can't pour out. It has to be an overflow.
Absolutely. So, when you talk about pageants, that can be kind of a controversial topic. People love to get on their soapbox. So, and it's like you have visions of these young girls, like the JonBenet Ramseys of the world, Oh,
Lord, yes.
But, what you're doing, like, what I love is to watch what you're doing out there in the world, and how pageants is just kind of like what you were saying before. It's a vehicle. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what really happens, and what, how it, the true experience.
And then how do you keep those bathing suits on and not get wedgies when you walk? Because
that is actually, we use the spray that baseball players use for their gloves. And so you just spray it and you stick it and it won't move.
Really?
So, yeah. I know. There's a lot of tricks. Oh, my gosh. Nothing's real now. And it is very superficial. I'll be quite honest with you. Pageants, for the most part, and it can be very, very superficial. But it also can, if you will allow it to be, because not everybody's going to win. So, not everybody has what it takes to win. Mm-hmm. But you do learn. And I call it like the Super Bowl, the sports, for girls who don't play sports. It's a thing where you can be competitive and learn how to be competitive. And it's not everybody's best friends. Like, they try to make it seem in the media. And it's not that everybody doesn't They do plastic surgery. All of that is truth. You know, all the negative part of pageantry is true. But on the flip side, there is so, you know, flash forward 10 years to when Miss Texas, who's now like this wonderful reporter in Tennessee. I mean, and she's just fantastic, and she's making a difference in her community. So you do glean a lot and learn a lot from it. But a lot of the superficialness of it is true. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it's all a bed of roses. It's not. Mm-hmm. But I took away, and I learned from that. Even being in the superficial world of that, I learned that, oh God, that world is pretty tough. And it's not all bad. You know, competition is tough, and people are mean, and life is not fair. And, you know, it does cost you when you do the right thing and you don't participate in the corruption.
But what do you say to people But what do you say to people that think it's just about exploiting boobs and, you know, that we're not really paying, where we threw in a couple of those questions about, you know, pop culture to even the playing field, but it's really just about exploiting women and their beauty?
Oh, you're exploited if you want to be exploited. You have to participate in that, to me. You know, the swimsuit's part of it. You know, it is. I hated that part. Oh my God, it was torture. I hated it. I would give anything to look like that today. And I thought I hated how I looked then. Like,
of course.
Back at pictures, I'm like, oh God, I'd kill to be just like that. But I hated the part. But, you know, I didn't feel exploited at all. I felt empowered, to be quite honest with you, because it was the smallest part of the competition, and my interview was the largest part of my competition. Yeah. And so people just don't see that part. You know, they don't see that part. But, you know, I understand why people say it exploits women, but I don't agree with that.
Well, there are a lot of fields out there that it all depends on how you're in there. And I think that there are parents or guardians or people who kind of push girls or women into it and who aren't necessarily there. And maybe that is exploitive. But the way in your experience, it sounds like it was very empowering for you.
Yeah, it was a means to an end for me.
Right.
And I didn't feel compromised. If I would have felt compromised, I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't do it today.
But let's go back to that story, you know, and not to like harp on, you know, our president now.
Oh, let's do it. Let's harp. Right. Harp away.
But how many women or you know, or young women are the Kim Gravels of the world? Like, you know, that did feel like they had to say yes, you know, or did feel like in order to get where they want to be, they have to be manipulated or allow themselves to be manipulated by an adult, you know, and that's, yes. I mean, where do you think you got that?
And and again, like I said, Jackie, that was such a learning experience. I'm so glad I went through that at 19, right?
Right.
Because now I can smell it. You know, I can walk into a room and I can smell that a mile away.
Right.
I can feel it. The energy, everything about it. And it does exist everywhere, in every field. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times, and you guys are in TV, y'all know, you know this business. It's not you audition, it goes great. I mean, there's a lot of underhanded things that go down all over this business and in every business. I mean, just what happened at Fox. I mean, it's just, what do you do with it? You know, what do you do with those situations? How do you react in those situations? How do you I just always teach girls, don't compromise. When it don't feel right, it's not right. It's just not right. And that's anything, when you're buying a car or when you're trying to get ahead on the corporate ladder. If it doesn't feel right in your soul, listen to that still small voice, because it talks to you constantly. And there were some girls that participated in that. And, you know, whatever. I don't even judge that, because some people don't even understand or have the confidence or they want something so bad they'll do anything for it.
Or that's not a deal breaker for them. You know, I mean, and I think that we've become so judgmental that, you know, for someone to say that they've slept their way to the top, some people are like, I'm cool with that. Like, and you know, that wouldn't work for me, but for other people it does, and they don't feel like it diminishes their, you know. And so
I'm not trying to talk Hollywood here, but I mean, Kim Kardashian. I mean, you know, she's a prime example of, she used her sexuality to get the exposure she needs, you know, and I've never met her. I don't know her. I would never judge it. But, you know, I would love to sit down and talk to her and ask her, what was that like? What did that feel like when you made that decision to put that out there? You know, and when it's those kind of things, those kind of conversations with women that I think judgment shouldn't exist. It should just be that as a conversation.
Right.
I have a friend right now. I will not say her name because I love her to the moon and back. I mean, I swear I love this girl to death. And she's just written this book, and and some of her Instagram things, I just want to call her and go, what are you doing? I mean, that's what I want to say as like this big sister friend to her.
Right.
And I just, and my other best friend said, well, you can't do that. You can't judge. She's doing what she's got to do to get where she's got to go. I'm like, I know, but she's so smart. She's so, So you're right, Kim. We can't judge it.
But what you're doing,
I secretly do judge it. I just don't. I'm very judgmental.
I judge it. I'll say this. I judge it in the moment because it makes me just so mad because she's so gorgeous and she's so beautiful and she's so smart. She's smarter than all these dudes that follow her on Instagram and say these filthy comments to her.
Well, we've talked a lot. But we've talked a lot about what judgment actually means. I mean, I think that people say judgment is such a negative thing, and I do judge, but I judge it as in terms of, would that work for me? Does that hurt me? Help me? Like, and it's sort of like how I measure things in my own life, And when I say I'm judging, like, I don't have an opinion about how that person's living in their life. It's just how does that impact mine, or does that move the Richter scale on my level of ethics and integrity and all the stuff that I've established for myself? So I'm half teasing when I say I'm judgmental. But, I do that with parents of kids that my son knows because they're parenting.
Yeah.
I absolutely judge.
Well, you need to judge for safety and survival, first of all. If we were like, oh, I'm no judgment, like we'd send our kids off with people –
But I think you. That's what I'm saying. I think that we say no judgment, but the truth is we all do that because that's how we decide who our friends are, who our business colleagues are, who our dates are, who our person is we buy our car from. Mm-hmm. Like, I think we've just come to this place where we're so negative about being judgmental, but we all do it. Right. I mean, that's how we lead people in and out.
I do this thing. Like, I would like to ask my friend, okay, so 10 years from now, how are you going to feel about this? That's the kind of thing, but again,
but in 10 years,
yes, I do judge. Yes.
But her learning curve in 10 years, what I did 10 years ago, I would never do today. But at 10 years ago, I'm like, yeah, this is cool today. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was blogging. I was blogging 10 years ago, and I would read things, and I'm like, oh, who is that person? I would never be friends with her.
But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. Because, I mean, really, women just start getting real good when they hit about 35. We just really start getting real comfortable in our own skin. Mm-hmm. That's the magic, like, tipping point in my life, personally, where I'm just like, okay, this is cool. I'm digging this. I like this. I'm good with this. Where the 15 years previous, I was, looking, struggling, searching, trying to figure it out.
Right. But I want to go back a little bit to your friend because yes, maybe you're judging her, but the thing is, you're judging her because you think she is more. Do you know what I mean? You're not saying, listen, there's this person and she's doing this and she's repulsive. Like, you're saying you're disappointed because you see more in her. And I think that's what you're doing for these young girls or young women that, when they get to where your friend is in life, maybe they don't necessarily need this validation because they've kind of trained themselves to validate internally.
Well, and I'm going to take it a step further, Jackie. I'm going to say this. I think my friend might not have gone down this path if she would have found her purpose. See, for me, everybody's not made to be a star. Mm-hmm. Everybody's not made to be in Hollywood. Everybody is not made to win Miss America. Everybody's not made, fill in the blank of whatever that is.
Right.
Every boy's not made to be, Stephen Curry, or Tom Brady.
My kid is.
Me too, girl.
Sorry.
Out at the ball game this weekend. I was the fool in the stand. Talking about judgment. Anyway, but, everybody's not made. But see, what I'm trying to do is circumvent that in a way where if I can get a 9-year-old thinking about what she's good at, or him, I'm gonna put him in there too because this is a universal message. This is not gender, bias. If I can get a 9-year-old thinking, this is what her true talent is. Like, you can see it. I mean, it almost starts when they're so young. Like my eldest son is truly a black and white kid. He's not a gray. There's no gray. It's right. It's wrong. It is so, he has such a moral high compass that him and his father and I do not possesses. Obviously a gift, the truth, doing what's right, following the rules, he's so naturally good at that. And instead of steering him away from that and saying, oh, don't be so crazy, I try to direct that in a way that his purpose can come from that, because he's so naturally gifted in that area. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And so for me, that's what I'm trying to get young girls to do. They won't have to make those compromising choices, and you will to some degree, because we're human. But they'll be on the right path. And it's not about what you do. I'm not talking about you're going to be an attorney and I'm going to be a veterinarian. If I hear another young girl tell me she's going to be a veterinarian, we'll lose it. That's all they always say. I'm going to be a veterinarian. Nothing against veterinarians, but you can't have 1,700 veterinarians, in a 30-mile radius in Atlanta. So, I'm trying to get them to understand it's not what they do. It's what their heart's desire is. And we don't teach that to our kids. We don't. We want them to be the number one basketball player at the, Little League.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Because as adults, we never figured it out. And so, or we didn't get what we wanted.
Important. Yeah. I think that should be a class in school, is how to know what you're good at.
Right.
Instead of doing the standardized testing, and don't get me on all this Common Core crap because we'll talk for hours. Instead of all the standardized testing, we should really be specialized. Every kid is an individual and has giftings and talents. They do not fit in a box.
Right.
They don't. And it just takes a lot of time and money and love. And, you have to have people that can edify and build kids up. And it's just our teachers are not given the tools, the money, the freedom to do that. I mean, I could fill in the blank. I could go on and out for that. But I think that if we do that with our young people, we'll see a shift like never before. Because not everybody's supposed to be, the hot, sexy girl on Instagram.
Right. But everybody sees, it looks like, an overnight success with no work. And they're like, I want that. Like here's this 17-year-old girl who, goes out and with friends and suddenly has 1 million followers. Like it's people just want that easy, it's the get rich quick scheme of now.
Well, you could thank reality TV for that.
Well, and let me just tell you, reality TV ain't all that. I've done it.
Let's talk about that. You did 2 seasons of Kim of Queens. I love the name Kim of Queens on Lifetime. So what was that like? What was that experience?
It was complete torture.
Really?
It was torture. Yes, it was torture because look, it's reality TV, right? And so they wanted us to be dance moms. I'm nothing against Abby Lee Miller. I mean, she's very successful in what she does. I'm the furthest from Abby Lee Miller that exists. I mean, I'm very opinionated and I'm very loud and proud, but I'm just not going to tear you down to get there. I'm going to build you up. And I'm going to talk to you in a really hard, firm way, and I'm going to cry with you, and I'm going to do all that kind of stuff. And Lifetime just saw it differently. And by the time, and the producers they hired and the people they put on the show, and there was no clear direction. I knew the direction. I knew the direction from day one, and I told them. And I think Lifetime was a scary cat. They were scared to really go deep. You never saw I had moms showing up to the set drunk. They wouldn't film it. Oh my
gosh! Wow.
I had a child, two children dealing with major eating disorders. 113. I said, look, if we don't get this under control, this child, I'm not showing up to film with this kid. This is going to kill her. They wouldn't put any of the real things on TV. And I'm not a counselor by any means, but we could have provided that on air and shown these journeys, the real journeys, and really touched a lot of lives. And you'd have had drama for days.
Right.
For days. But they were just scared. They were really scared because they thought it was going to be this superficial world, and it's not. It's not a superficial world. It's a real world with a lot of problems and a lot of moms with a lot of problems and a lot of daughters that inherited their mom's problems. Right. And there was divorces and everything. My sister was going through hell. They wouldn't show that. So, it could have been a very powerful show. Right. It lasted a long, long time. But they just didn't have the courage to do it. And I remember looking at the president of Lifetime, and I said, you should have gone with your gut. I looked him dead in the eye. I won't even name his name because it's still there. I said, you should have gone with your gut. I said, because I've done my job. I said, and you need to do yours. Lifetime needs to do theirs.
Absolutely.
And they just couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. But it could have been huge. It could have been powerful. and it could have made a difference. And it did. It was for such a time, it did. But that's what happened. I mean, that's the truth.
Right. And there's so much production, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, people see reality, whether it's a dating show or whatever it is.
Right.
Like there's so much production that goes on that somebody says something and it's like, oh, so do you mean sort of like this? And they're like, well, yeah, we'll say that,
Right.
And
oh, yeah. Well, they couldn't do that with me. They tried. Bless their little heart. They did. They tried.
They don't have to with you because you'll probably say something better than they could have ever expected,
I said, honey, you can't play a player now. You got, you got a 23-year-old production person trying to tell me what that looks like them. Like, honey, you don't even know. You need to shut it down. Bless your heart. You do not know.
You're like, your name.
I think that's fine.
Your name is not on this show. So go ahead, Kim.
I want to move completely like into another world because I'm fascinated by this. So my best friend is obsessed with QVC, and I've never understood it. And then I watched Joy, that movie with the mop or whatever. So you're like a QVC queen. So you have your clothing, your apparel line and your cosmetic line, right? So like Belle was it Belle by Kim Gravel? Is that right?
Belle by Kim Gravel and Belle Beauty for the beauty. Yeah.
So explain QVC. Like that's fascinating to me. Like how does that work? You're like a consummate salesperson.
Oh my gosh. QVC is like the Disney World for chicks. That's all I can tell you. Like you walk into that building, it is so high level, elevated. You can eat off their baseboards. It is so done with excellence. I cannot tell you. And I mean, I'm going to toot their horn. I mean, I'm on there, but I'm going to go ahead and toot their horn, toot, because it is really, they get such a bad rap, meaning this stigma that comes to QVC. People kind of say, oh my God, QVC. It's so beyond that. I cannot even explain it. Where do I begin? It's such a huge business. It's over $80 billion a year.
Wow.
Worth of merchandise they sell. Wow. They're one of the largest retailers on the planet. If I was like top 3. They have been doing social media, and they have been doing what Amazon has done way before Amazon ever did it. It's a business basically run, structured in the day-to-day operations in high-level positions by women, for women. It's a powerhouse. It's overwhelming, and I love it. I'm telling you, it's more than just selling stuff on TV. It truly is. I don't even know. There's not even a word for it. You'd have to go see it.
Well, it's funny because I remember it, when you'd have a couple of drinks back years ago and you'd see QVC at night, or you're home with a sick kid or whatever and you're flipping through. But, it's really become, and I have other friends who have gone there and sold things there. And it's like a community. It feels like a family.
Yeah, it's a world. It's like this. It's like when you walk into Disney World, it's a different feel. You know what I'm saying? It's a different. You're in another world. The same thing with QVC. Customers are very loyal, and there's customers that buy from QVC that would never admit that they buy from QVC. I mean, like it is such a world, and it's very lucrative. If you are successful there, one of my QVC mentors, Lori Goldstein, who has styled stars beyond stars. I mean, Michael Jackson. I mean, everyone. I mean, she styled everyone. She has a line there. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I came off, I'm going to write about this because it was so powerful. She's in her 60s, and I came off the set for my first show, and she pulled me aside, and she said, oh, my gosh, you're going to be so successful here. I've paved the way for you, because she really has, because she's such a strong woman. Mm-hmm. And she sat with me for 20 minutes. I mean, that's the kind of environment it is. It's competitive, but it's not. It's like we all know the grind that it is. And so, if you get connected to the right people, it's like a sisterhood.
Is it hard to get in there like they portrayed in that movie? I mean, is it?
Girl, yes. Impossible. My QVC story is simply like divine and magical. There's no way I should be there. And the time and the amount and the volume that I'm doing there now, it really had to be meant to be. I wrote down in my journal, I journal every day. And so I wrote back in 2006, I had to go find it. I wrote that I wanted to be on QVC to sell my makeup. It was just, who knows? I didn't even know what I printed off the packet that you have to sign to do it. And I put it in my journal, and I said 2006. And, we launched in 2016.
Wow.
So it's been a 10-year journey, but it really happened because of Kim Queens, really. It happened so I can't ever down that, because that was a bridge to this.
Right.
But it is very hard. And you don't hit the numbers, the dollars per minute that you have to sell, you would just die. I mean, it's just like crazy. It's crazy.
Wow. And so, and how long are your shifts when you're on there? When you go in and you sell are you on every day?
I'm not on every day. Right now I'm on, I have an hour show in a month, and then I have what they call hits. So I just had an hour show. So I did an hour show with a live studio audience, and then, so you're up from 8. I was up from 8 that morning. Then I had my show 8 o'clock that night till 8 o'clock the next morning. I was up for a 24-hour period.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
it's
crazy.
Hard. Really? It's not for the faint-hearted. Yes.
Wow.
If you have a TSB, which we have a TSB in June, you're up 24 hours solid, and you're on every other hour.
Okay, so I admit I haven't seen you. I don't watch QVC really, but I will, because I feel like I could be entertained by you also for the time we are. But do you have a person that you're with? I honestly, I know I've seen people together. So you have someone, so you're not completely running it by yourself. Or do you have someone to feed off of? Oh, okay.
You have the host, and you guys have done TV. You know what it's like. You have the inner ear, and they tell you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do, And so it's it's a lot coming at you at once. But you do have those QVC hosts are professionals. I mean, those girls and those guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's live TV, and it's not live TV with a delay. It's hot live. So I mean, if you say hell, you've said hell. There is no bleep in it. There is no, or whatever fill in the blank. I know hell's not a bad word. Right. You know what I'm saying?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You saved us from having to bleep you. Thank you.
But you know what I mean. You know what I mean? It's a lot of pressure. But those hosts are professional. And it's every color and it is the ride of a lifetime.
And then you still take calls, right? You still take calls?
Oh, we take calls, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Jackie, we should get drunk and call in.
That's the best part, is listening to the people who call in. I love them so much.
No, y'all don't need to get drunk. Y'all too fun without being drunk. Being drunk, y'all probably too chill. You just need to call in as is. Y'all gonna be fun calling in just like y'all right now.
Good, we can be ourselves. So okay, so you've rocked the reality TV, whether they did or not is a whole other discussion. You've done the pageants. You've sung at events. You're the QVC goddess. What's next for you?
I want to conquer the world of daytime talk against everybody's encouragement and discouragement, I should say. Daytime TV is my passion. Mm-hmm. It always has been. I did a daytime TV show here for 10 years in Atlanta.
Wow.
And it was basically, 2 turntables and a microphone. I was talking to toothless homeless people, but I tried to make it interesting. I mean, it was cutting my teeth. There was no teleprompter. It was like, just make it up, girl. Get on, and for an hour, just make up stuff and go for it. And
welcome
I felt
to Broadscast.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes that's the best TV, right? The best stuff is when it's just not planned. Sometimes it can be too planned. And so I fell in love with that audience during the day. That's really, and I keep telling QVC puts me on at night. I'm like, please just keep me in the day, because that's my people. That's my girls. That's my peeps. That's where I fit, is just fun and having fun and having that girlfriend chat. That's what I love.
Right.
And so that's what I would love to do, because I've done it for so long. And I still, to this day, when I walk on the set of Steve Harvey, or like that day I walked on the Fab Life, I could have just died, because I could do it all day, every day for free, because I love it that much.
Well, and that's the thing is, people don't realize, I've worked in daytime television for many, many years, and people don't realize, just because you have an audience or just because you have a talent doesn't make you the perfect talk show host. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of giving of yourself. And that's one of the things that you do, is that you give enough of yourself, that people don't feel like, I need to know more. She's holding back, but also you don't give so much that there isn't a little mystery. You know what I mean? I think it's really important, and I think I want to work with you. I'm telling you right now. I'm throwing in my application when you have your show. Okay.
No, I'm taking. Next time I come to California, we're all going. 3 of us are going out, and I'm buying. I don't care what you say. So just make sure it's somewhere like Outback or somewhere real cheap. Because I know how you LA people, y'all hard to eat. And when y'all do eat, I swear to you, Kim, they eat nothing, and it costs $700. I'm like,
that's true.
God.
Right?
It's 2 leaves. I'm like, the
It's
bill
like
is $700. I'm like, where the heck is the food?
It's a peanut.
But I love LA. I do. I love it. I think LA gets a kick out of me too, because they're just like, who is this size 12, tight 12, loose 14 woman with a big mouth and a lot of confidence in LA? What's she doing here?
Right.
You know,
so you'll have to be my tour guide. I do a football trip with my girlfriend every year. We pick a city. So I decided that Atlanta is my trip next year because I'm a Falcons fan. So I'll be rooting for the Falcons in the Super Bowl.
Hello.
Whatever. Both of you.
I know. Jackie's Patriots.
I'm from New England, so you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you have to. I mean, you have to. It's your hometown. I mean, you have home peeps. You got to love them. But
exactly.
They've had enough wins, right? It's
That's what I feel.
Yeah, but you don't know
Dirty Birds.
You don't know what it was like to grow up as a Patriots Red Sox fan. It was a very lonely existence. So we can't get enough of this.
Same here too, girl. Same here. Deion Sanders is a good friend of mine, and he used to play for the Falcons. And he texted me last night. He goes, "We're going to the bowl, girl." I'm like, "Yes, we are. We're going." Of course, I can't stand football, so don't tell anybody. But I have to support.
You know, if you get 3 tickets for Houston, Kim and I'll join you.
Okay, that's the day. That's the day.
So before we go, because we're actually running out of time, but go back to that LA Atlanta thing. So you know, you grew up in the South, like you've got a totally different existence. I know when I go back to Massachusetts, like in LA, at any weight, whether it's where I am now or 50 pounds ago, I feel enormous. Yeah. Right? I go back to Boston, and I'm like, I look pretty good. You know, like
you're eye candy, baby. You're eye candy.
So, you know, how is that? I mean, you could absolutely live in New York or Los Angeles or some other area where it's kind of an alternate universe. It
is.
How is it staying in the South and doing all you're doing? And, you know, what's the difference?
Well, this is it. I think that, and I'm not stereotyping at all. I'm just saying my experience. Everything I'm saying is from my experience. I think what happens in LA and in New York and some of these big metropolitan cities, and Atlanta's not small by any means. There's a lot of industry here. But I think for so long, LA and New York have been these hubs for this alternate universe that we call Hollywood, that just like politics, they're missing what the real person, okay? And I'm talking about my neighbor, Diesta J. Long, across the street, who is, you know, upper middle class, who goes to CrossFit, and she's got 3 kids. I'm saying that woman, I know for daytime, but I know these metropolitan, they're missing what just the regular, and see, that woman is the same woman that's watching QVC in Massachusetts and in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. See, we're all the same. It's just in different ways. But we're not, you know, and I say we, and I'm including all 3 of us in this. I can just tell y'all we're just down-home girls. I think we just don't feel that pressure that you feel in these cities. But it's like I told some of the girls that I know at ABC, I'm like, you're just out of touch. Right. Like, you're just not in the streets enough. You don't understand what's going on. And you're missing it because it's a huge market, and we are the spenders, we're the influencers, and we're the buyers, and we're the consumer.
Right.
And that's what's happening.
And people will consume more and more, you know, when they feel like they connect. And so for somebody to watch QVC and to connect with you and feel like you've created, you know, this apparel and this makeup to help them. It's about them. It's not about Kim Gravel necessarily. You know,
it's not about Hawken. Hawken product to me is not important. I mean, again, it's just a vehicle. Like you said that earlier, Jackie, it's just a vehicle. But the thing about it is that what I've noticed, I mean, I've been to Tokyo, I've been to South Africa, I've traveled all over. We're all the same. I don't know why we think we're all so different. We're really not. We're just really not. I mean, basically, we're all the same. It's just in different ways. And so for me, when I go to LA, no, I don't fit in, but I love everybody there. Gay, straight, black, white. I don't care where you come from. Right. I don't care where you live. I don't care what you believe. I mean, I just truly believe every human on this planet has a purpose and has a call and has something that they are here to do, or they wouldn't be here. And so that's how I look at people. And I know this sounds cliche, but a long time ago, it has nothing to do with faith, but I'm going to throw this in. I prayed. I said, God, help me see people the way you see people. And he did. So when I look at people now, I don't look at them as black or homeless or rich or poor or gay or straight. I just look at them as souls, as people. And it's amazing how we're all so similar. I'm serious. I mean, and I know it sounds cliche and cheesy, and it might sound unintellectual and simple.
Not at all.
But it is true.
Not at all. And I that's the message, though, that I think needs to be shared more so right now than ever. Because I think we're so divided and so separated, and
my gosh,
we just want to know what somebody's. I remember when we lived in a time without social media, and like your neighbor could be, totally different from you, and you could have majorly different, bigly different beliefs, and you wouldn't know, and you would see each other at the mailbox or whatever and say hello,
yes.
and now we know every single thing that people think the second they think it, even if they haven't thought it through, and so it's tough to connect with people on that level because they're all looking to find out if you're on the opposite side. That's what it feels like.
Well, I've got to go with y'all because I've got to know, Kim, your story and the whole OJ thing. I'm sorry. I know you get tired of talking about it, but just you handled yourself so beautifully and so strong. Bravo. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's just bravo. I mean, and just keep the fight, sister. Keep the fight up, because we do have to fight injustices, and we do have to do that. But at the same time, it's,
Well,
if you do what you're put on this earth to do,
right,
you can't go wrong.
But she also, and I do this to Kim all the time. I embarrass her, but she has taken this experience. Yes, she fights for injustice, but she also is such a comfort and a safe place for victims of all different types of crimes and all different circumstances. So, to be able to take, these negative, horrific circumstances in life and to shed light on somebody else's life, I find to be remarkable. So
I agree.
I'll just sit back and let you guys do this.
But sadly, our love fest has come to an end.
It always does.
We need to have you on all the time. It should just be like Broadscast with Kim Gravel.
Well, I love what you're doing. Like I said, I'm a fan. I think it's really cool, and we need it. The more of this we get out there, the better.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
And then people can also find you at kimgravel.com and all of your social media channels. Are they just all at Kim Gravel?
Everything's just Kim Gravel.
Perfect.
Kim Gravel, if you want to be country.
Gravel. Well, what do they call you in the South? Do they say gravel?
They just say, hey, you. Hey, honey. That's what they say. But yeah, it's Kim Gravel. But I get called Gravel a good bit.
That's funny. Well, we could be called worse. Let's be honest.
And I have been. So.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
All
right,
we'll be watching you on QVC.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm going to go buy those stretchy pants that you just posted about.
Girl, the Flexible jeans, honey, and we have the pull-on leggings will rock your world. You'll never be the same.
I'm going to go get some leggings.
Jean. That's all I'm going to say. The leggings work. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and stay tuned for more Broadscast.
Subscribe to Broadscast on iTunes.
You heard the man. Subscribe to Broadscast on iTunes. Welcome back. What a great episode. That Kim Gravel. She's amazing, right, Kim?
Yeah, in her accent, I so want fried green tomatoes or something right now.
I think there's something about having
do something southern,
right? And then having that southern accent, I feel like you can get away with saying more. And I love that.
No, she's so sassy.
And I wonder how she feels now about, I should have had, the president of the United States hit on her. I mean, not many. Well, I guess a lot of people could probably say that, but I guess it's not all that special. But thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Facebook and all the social media channels at Broadscast. And Kim, be safe out there, saving the world.
I am going to be safe. It is snowing. I love it. I'm super happy, and I'm telling good stories. And I miss you. I miss being in the studio with you, but I can't wait to come home. We have a great show for next week. So
yes, we
super
do.
Excited.
All right. Thanks so much for listening.
You are listening to Broadscast. For more from the Broads, head to broadscast.com.